So I just got this FP30, and I've watched all the videos on YouTube about it. A few things I think have been missed or misstated. Um, for example, nobody mentioned this. That doesn't sound like a note. That just, if you hit it hard enough down there somewhere, it sounds like it might be touching some kind of note. Yeah, not much there. Begin to hear something there, but the clunk is louder. And same there. There. I have noticed that those work on, say, organ. So they work on other things, but these final keys don't work on piano very well. Now, I'm not a piano player. This is my piano for learning. I think it's the best keyboard out there at this price for beginners. And I'm going to go over more on it. I just unpacked this and threw it on the stand that came with it. Unfortunately, the stand that came with it, which was a special deal Roland stand, but it is not the proper stand for this keyboard. The problem is with this stand, the keyboard height is 33 inches, and it really needs to be down here. And that's as low as this stand goes. So this stand is the 10 or the KS20X. American Music Supply is where I buy all my equipment. It's a great place to buy your equipment. And this was just a free throw-in stand that they're giving away for a limited time with this keyboard. Too bad it isn't the right stand for this keyboard. Another thing, one of the reviewers talked about the ridiculous size of the manual. Like, oh my gosh, it's so thick. Look at everything they give you. You have to learn to play this. Actually, not true. There's like 5 pages in English. That's it. That's the English right there. Everything else, that's all other languages. So if you speak English, there are a couple of interesting detailed pages. And okay, let's go through them. There's the index. And this opening page gives you a lot of information about how it functions. The next page shows you very clearly how to plug everything in properly. The page after that gives you a breakdown of all the cool things you can do to change the parameters, including tuning the keyboard. You can adjust all the sensitivity of the keys. And I'm going to go over that later, but this is using Bluetooth functionality and troubleshooting. That's it. We're at the end of English. So really, that's it. I'm glad they put this much information in here. I'm going to need every bit of it. Now, also, people have complained about the fact that there's only 2 headphone jacks down here in this corner, which don't really show up in this light. And I may reshoot all this, but people complained about it because, yeah, this thing is not very loud. Even sitting in a small room like this, it's not very loud on its own. Now, I have headphones and I plan on using them to not disturb other people. And it's plenty loud in my headphones. I have a nice professional set of these AKG headphones. And with those headphones, it's really adequate for practice. And that, again, I'm a beginner. This is my first keyboard. I've always wanted to play piano and just never had the time or the place, too many other things I've been doing. But I have spent about 50 years playing guitar. Well, all right, playing at guitar. a few times a year, every now and then, over the past 50 years. Although during the pandemic, trust me, I am now very good on my guitars. I've had plenty of time. But going back to the keyboard volume, the keyboard, when I plug in the 1/4-inch plug into my Mustang 3 amp, I get awesome sounds out of it. And I'm going to do a video about all the different sounds, because one of the things on this amp, if I turn the volume down so I don't hurt anybody, it has a lot of settings, and I can put this keyboard through these settings and totally enhance not only the volume, but the sound of the piano keyboard. Now, earlier I put it on its Wurlitzer, which some reviewers have said isn't a great Wurlitzer. You don't get a whole lot of that sound. However, I have some tremolo settings on my amplifier mixed with that Wurlitzer. Sounds like I've got a full-size Wurlitzer organ in here. So it does amplify well. I can put my amp on preamp or any of the other voices that I'll do. I can plug my Fender amp in online with Fender and download tons more sounds. So playing the keyboard through the amp gives you a whole another range of and depth and power in sounds. I think it actually works fine. I assume a line out would give me greater volume, because I do seem to be limited on the volume, and I'm going to check into that and see if possibly some type of filter may mitigate that. But as it is, I turned it up louder than I could stand to be in the room with it, with no hiss, no buzz, nothing at all. So it was perfectly quiet until I played, and then it blasted. So it is an option, and so I would say you could play this with other musicians or in a decent sized room. Well, probably a pretty big room, and have plenty of volume simply by going through an amp. So only if you didn't want to have to carry an amp with you would you want something with a more built-in power. Also, no one mentioned this online, but in the instructions for this in the booklet, it tells you you can use amplified speakers, which would have a similar effect. So if you put 40-watt amplified speakers and plugged them into the headphone jack, it will amp that up 40 amps. And I don't know how that works. I don't have them here. I'm thinking about trying a set of my computer speakers that would plug into this. Also, another thing that was never mentioned, well, I shouldn't say never mentioned, a lot of people miss. There are instructions that tell you if you're plugged in, the internal speakers will cut out if you plug in a headphone or speakers. And that's not necessarily true either. I don't know why you would want the onboard speakers in addition to other speakers, but if you do, there's a function, I think it's function, it tells you in there, and like an F1, press those and it turns the internal speakers on, as well as headphones or anything else you have plugged in. That wraps up my initial look at this FP30 from Roland. Watch for my next video. I'm going to get a little closer look at these things.